Hi there, Donovan here with Dispersed.com, and today I'm telling you how you can camp for free on National Forest lands and BLM lands. My name's Donovan Thurman. Join me and my dog Remy as we travel off the beaten path in my trusty old Subaru. Okay, so today what we're talking about is dispersed camping and boondocking. Now, those two things are kind of the same, kind of different, typically in just the way that they're used. But essentially what they mean is you are camping outside of a designated campground or a camping facility or area. Typically, when you're not camped inside a campground on land where you're allowed to camp, you don't have to pay anything, so it is free. So for me, there's far more benefits to dispersed camping than there are drawbacks, so we're going to cover those first. The biggest benefit to dispersed camping or boondocking is that it's free. You don't have to pay anything. There's no camp fees. You're not paying $20 a night to sit in a campground, and that's nice. It saves you some pocket money, more money for gas to do more exploring. For me personally, the next biggest benefit is that you're away from people, and come here. You're away from other people, and you don't have to deal with the campground annoyances, nuisances, people running generators, kids screaming, babies crying, that kind of thing, which is kind of the whole reason you want to get out camping in the first place, is to get away from it all, and you don't want to have that spoiled by a bunch of noisy neighbors or disrespectful neighbors playing music and just being a hassle. So for me, those two are kind of the biggest benefits. The third benefit in the way that I do dispersed camping is, you can kind of see behind me, is I have a Subaru. I disperse camp out of my car, and I like the exploring. I like checking out forest roads that I've never been on before, seeing if I can pick a spot on Google Maps or Google Earth or something and see if I can get there, see if it's a decent spot to set up camp. And it's kind of just the adventure of it is kind of fun for me, and a lot of times you can end up in a spot with a cool view. The spot that I'm sitting in right now, I know potentially has a good view, but the clouds are kind of covering it. You can see two big mountains right here if the clouds weren't here. So you get to go out and do a little bit of adventuring. You kind of feel like you're on a miniature safari or something. Actually, on that note, a lot of the times too, you might run into some critters that might be too scared to enter the campgrounds, like the deer and stuff. Chipmunks and everything are going to be squirrels. They're going to hang out in the campgrounds. That's where the food is. But you might get to, I don't know how many times I've woken up in the morning and there's been just a little family of deer waltzing through camp, and it's pretty cool. You just sit there, they kind of ignore you and kind of make their way on. And it's not something you typically see in a campground, at least I haven't. And so that's pretty neat too. Don't kick the camera, dog. You might be wondering, what are the disadvantages to dispersed camping or boondocking? And I'll say that these are kind of divided, but primarily the biggest disadvantage is there's no facilities. You don't have the bathroom or the garbage service, so everything you bring in you have to take out, and you need to set up your own little spot to use a bathroom. Make sure you bury it or dispose or pack out the waste. Like, that sounds nasty, but at the very least, bury it. That's what's recommended by the Forest Service. Dig a little cat hole, cover it up when you leave. Don't leave scraps of toilet paper hanging out on top of the stuff. That's nasty. Nobody wants to see that. It's annoying, it's gross, and it's just littering. So you have to make do with that, and there's ways to get around it too. If you're like a female and you don't like the idea of squatting, they make camp chairs that are camp toilets or whatever. There's ways to go around it. Like I said, the other biggest thing you have to work with is garbage, which again is not that difficult to deal with. If you bring a garbage bag and everybody puts their garbage in there, you haul it home or you drop it off at a gas station or a forest ranger station. Sometimes campgrounds don't really like you dumping garbage, but I've dropped garbage off at the dumpsters in a campground too. I'm sure the people in the Forest Service and the people who run the campgrounds are much happier with you dropping off your camp garbage there than leaving it all about or burning it in the fire pit or whatever. So you got to take care of your garbage. and you have no facilities. You got to pack in water and stuff like that, unless you're right by a stream where you can get some filtered water or something. But essentially, yeah, that's the biggest problems. Now, a lot of those problems are mitigated if you have an RV. You're bringing a lot of that stuff with you. I don't use an RV. I travel in my car, like I said, because it allows me to get into more interesting places. A lot of the roads I like to drive on, you can't take an RV. So, or you probably get yourself into trouble with maneuvering and stuff. So that's kind of the trade there. But there are plenty of spots where you can just kind of pull off of a main forest road, just almost like a big turnaround, that are set up as a camping site where you can just pull an RV into. I passed probably 5 or 6 trailers just pulled off into easy little spots just on the way up here. So one of the things you might be wondering is, where exactly can I dispersed camp? I mentioned it before that most national forest lands and BLM lands, it's Bureau of Land Management, are open for dispersed camping. They each have their own set of rules, and specific areas where you're going to be will have their own designated rules too. A lot of times it's free to camp there. Some specific areas, you have to stay in specific spots, and sometimes there is a small fee that you have to pay. But the best way to figure out exactly for the area that you're going is to stop by the local ranger station for that national forest, contact the Bureau of Land Management, ask them about that area. So another thing that's really important is, especially if you're camping in national forest land, is to look for or stop at the ranger station and get a motor vehicle use map, and they call them MVUM maps. They're free, and basically what they are is they outline the forest roads in whatever section. They're quadranted out into sections and numbered maps of what motor vehicle use is allowed on what forest roads, and that can tell you where you can camp, where you can't camp, what roads are open, what roads are closed, that sort of thing. What roads you're allowed to drive on, what roads are restricted access, and it's very important stuff if you don't want to get in trouble. The nice thing is that you can find these maps online. There's a PDF download. I have a link on the resource page in my website to where you can find those maps. You just select your local area from the National Forest website, and then you search for on their whatever the local page is for you, the MVUM maps, the motor vehicle use maps, and then there'll be a PDF download. You can open it up and check it out. You can download it, save it on your phone or your tablet or your laptop or whatever, print them out, whatever works. If you don't want to go through all that, just stop at your local ranger station. Again, they're free, pick them up. Very important. You don't want to get in trouble. You don't want to get fined. As far as BLM land goes, they actually have a pretty nice system where you can download a map onto your phone or your or your tablet or whatever you're using for navigation and stuff. You can download it on, basically it's a smartphone app. I can't remember what it's called. I'll write it down here. So it's an app that you download that corresponds with the maps that BLM has to offer, that you can download on their website, and essentially it's a GPS app that works in conjunction with the map that you download from the Bureau of Land Management, so you can see, make sure you're in BLM land, and that again, you're not breaking any rules, you're not going outside the area and camping in a spot that you're not supposed to. Again, I have links to those things as well, the apps and the maps for BLM on the resource page in the website, which I will have down below in either the pinned comment or in the description, or both. So those are the areas where you can typically disperse camp. So a little bit of backstory. I've been dispersed camping probably, well, at least for the last 15 years, I'm gonna guess. And the reason why we started dispersed camping when I was little and as a family is we used to camp in a specific campground in this area, actually, at the time we'd like to take our ATVs out, or go-karts. We had off-road go-karts and stuff, and we'd ride them around and stuff like that. And one particular trip, we had some annoying neighbors, and they had their own dirt bikes and quads, and they were riding them all up and down hills and off of the roads and everywhere you weren't supposed to. And somebody called the forest rangers, and they came and started reaming on us, thinking it was us because we were the first spot in that campground that had some ATVs. And we were like, well, this is kind of ridiculous. It's annoying. These neighbors are annoying. Why don't we go to a spot where the forest rangers say it's okay to ride our ATVs and just camp at that spot, so we don't have to trailer them and drive them up and down looking for forest roads, leave camp. And so that's why we started Dispersed camping, was so that we could ride our ATVs in the areas where we were allowed to ride them and not have to leave camp behind. Plus, we didn't have to deal with annoying neighbors anymore. Sorry for the wind. We didn't have to deal with the annoying neighbors and the noise, and it was free, so it saved money, and we didn't particularly care about the lack of facilities and stuff. That was easy enough to manage. I say that selfishly. I mean, my sister ended up hating camping forever because of this, but that is how I got started, and that's pretty much how I've been camping ever since. I think I've maybe camped in a campground less than 5 times since that particular trip. And yeah, so that's kind of how I got started doing it. So I've been doing it for a lot of years now, and there's lots of things I've learned. So if you're wanting to camp for free and you don't want to deal with the noise of annoying neighbors anymore, and you can deal with the lack of facilities, dispersed camping, boondocking is a fantastic way to get out and enjoy nature and explore and have a lot of fun. So until next time, I'm Donovan with DonnieDispersed.com, and I'll see you on the next video. If you like to follow along with the rest of our adventures, make sure to subscribe, and to make sure you don't miss out on any other videos, click the notification bell as well.